So hello and welcome to episode 37 of the Women in Manufacturing Association's Hear Her Story podcast. This conversation initially took place at the WIM South Conference in front of a live audience of more than 300 women in manufacturing and allies. My name is Allison Grayles, and in honor of May being Small Business Month, I'm thrilled to be joined by two incredible small business owners, Stephanie Stuckey, Chair of Stuckey's Corporation, and Lisa Winton, CEO and co-owner of Winton Machine Company. Thank you for joining us for this episode as we discuss Stephanie and Lisa's inspiring journeys into leadership, as well as the unique challenges and opportunities small businesses face in manufacturing. Welcome, Stephanie and Lisa, to Hear Her Story.
Hey there.
Thank you, Allison.
Well, I'm so excited to have you both here on Hear Her Story. And this forum and this platform is a place where we try to inspire either women in industry or future generations of women who want to pursue a career in manufacturing. And I think hearing these stories of women like yours is so very inspirational to hear how you rose and how as well you succeed in your current positions and at your companies. So why don't we first get started, perhaps Lisa, with you sharing a little bit about your career journey, your background, and how you rose to be leader of the organization.
Well, thank you, Allison. So Winton Machine started in the basement of our house, and my husband and I actually started the company together. When I reflect back on manufacturing and I really think about it, my manufacturing journey started as a small child. It started in New York, where I grew up. And I come naturally to manufacturing. Both my grandparents were in manufacturing, both grandfathers. One had a dress manufacturing company and one had a coat manufacturing company. So as a small child, I would go visit my grandfather, and I could remember him putting sugar cubes in his desk for me. So I think it's very ironic that I'm sitting here with the candy queen, Stephanie from Stuckey's. So from that journey, I continued on and I went to college and I graduated in a business degree. And I really didn't think that I'd go this route. And so I was on a retail journey for about 11 years. And my husband's an engineer, and we just decided to start a manufacturing company. So we built our first machine in our basement, given an opportunity from a local bicycle manufacturer. And from there, we just kind of grew the business. And so I really didn't think that manufacturing was going to be my journey in life. I'm so glad it is. I love manufacturing. I love being an American manufacturer. And every day is full of new challenges. And as a woman, I can just remember many times in the past being the only woman in the room when it comes to manufacturing. And I think that that's changed. And I look forward to the discussion on how it has changed.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. And Stephanie, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you came to be leader at Stuckey's.
Be happy to. And like Lisa, I got a lot of inspiration from my grandfather. And he's the one who actually started Stuckey's during the Great Depression as a roadside pecan stand. And he grew it from there to, at its peak, Stuckey's had 368 stores nationwide. And the Stuckey stores were gas stations and also candy shops that had quick hot meals on the go and clean restrooms. So we really were the first roadside retail chain that predated TA or Love's or Buc-ee's. Stuckey's was really the first roadside retail mecca that Americans would pull over on road trips and find a little oasis on the side of the road. And he sold the company, and it was out of our family for decades. 4 years ago, like Lisa, I didn't think my career would include manufacturing, but I had the unexpected opportunity to buy the company. It was for sale. And at that point, there are only a handful of the Stuckey stores left, and the company does not own them. They're independently owned and operated. So I had to figure out a way to reinvent the brand, and I decided to literally go back to our roots as a pecan company. And my grandfather had a candy company, and that candy plant of his is sadly shuttered. So I wasn't able to revive that. It's in total disrepair, but I was able to get the financing together with some business partners, and we bought a pecan snack and candy company outside of Augusta, Georgia. And we have resurrected not only the company, but all of the original snacks that my grandparents made and made famous, including our pecan log roll that we're best known for. And we now sell those to retailers nationwide. And like Lisa, I'm really proud that we're an American-made company. The pecan is the only snack nut native to our country. And we source all of our pecans locally from Georgia farmers, and all of our packaging is domestic and all of our ingredients are domestic. So we really are an American manufacturing company. And I'm just proud to be part of this effort to put America back to work.
That's excellent. So as we celebrate Small Business Month here in the month of May, and you both are at the helm of some outstanding businesses, what are some of the unique challenges and opportunities that you both have faced at leading a small manufacturing company? Maybe let's start with you, Lisa.
Wow, I don't know that we have enough time to talk about all the challenges for a small business, yet a small manufacturer. I'll try to hit a couple of highlights there. So as a small company, there's an advantage and a disadvantage of the fact that we have a smaller staff. We employ 40 people here in Georgia, and those are direct employees, and then we have lots of contractors that help us. We build machinery, so we have a lot of engineers and mechanical people, assembly, and so forth. And we're a family. So I look at that. So as a family, sometimes it runs super smooth and sometimes you have some dysfunction. So I think that as a small company, I think that you feel it a lot more. You feel the loss when someone leaves. You feel the triumph when you bring someone on board. So I think people tend to be one of the biggest challenges when it comes to being a small business. I think finance, I can remember many years of just the fear of making payroll. And it is definitely not cut out for everyone to own or start a small business. However, it is the backbone of the United States of America. And I am proud that after 26 years that we're still here, we're growing, and we're shipping worldwide. So I think that I'd say that financially, it's still a struggle because each stage of a business has its own struggles financially. So we're now in a growth stage. And so I'm trying to look for more space. And inflation has really hit us hard. Inflation's hit us from the supply chain side, the increase in cost of all our materials, to our labor rates, to just our overhead. And with that, the additional space, the current space we're in after 5 years has doubled in price. So those are a lot of challenges that many small businesses, unlike mine, really struggle with every day.
Yeah, so you mentioned, people, and that being a challenge, which I can imagine, especially for a small business as you shared, those folks are nearly like family when it's so close knit and such a small group. And as you stated, that the stages of a company's maturation is so interesting, because with each stage, while growth is wonderful and you have new customers and opportunities, it's how do you position yourself to be ready for those things, which can be tough. And in today's economy, very expensive. So difficult times. And as well, Stephanie, what are some of the challenges you have experienced as you've now resurrected your former family business and now are leading this company to success?
Same challenges that Lisa's facing, and I think same challenges that the listeners are probably dealing with as well. And the small manufacturing space, and I think that's what a lot of your listeners, that's where we are. We're in that niche that we're growing, and we want to be bigger, and the capacity to scale that's been our biggest impediment to growth, is getting the financing we need to scale. And I would add to what Lisa had to say, in that unless you want to take private equity dollars, which I think are fraught with a lot of complications, I personally and my business partner thus far have decided we are not going that route. You have to bootstrap it, or you have to get loans, which often are collateral that's personal guarantees and personal collateral. So like Lisa said, it is not for the faint of heart. You will have those days when you're worried about making payroll and making sure your cash flow is there. And as you're trying to scale, reinvesting in the company to grow and getting the access to financing. And I will add, my peeve is that the way economic development dollars work, it is mostly focused to benefit large corporations, large manufacturing. And most of the dollars go towards large employers, because the metrics by which success is judged and graded for economic development is on the job count. They always look at, all right, the state has invested 100 million in this company in exchange for X number of jobs. It's the job count that they're already always looking at, which I agree is important, but Stuckey's in Rennes, Georgia, and we're almost at the exact same job count, Lisa. We're at 40 employees. We're one of the largest employers in Jefferson County. So who's to say us getting 10 more jobs isn't just as significant as a corporation that's bringing thousands of jobs to a large metropolitan area? But the Economic Development Authority and the way they are judged and the way the government interprets success is all on just the raw jobs numbers. So it makes it hard for us to tap into a lot of these economic development incentives that are available to larger corporations. So you really have to be scrappy and hardworking and bootstrapping it a lot to grow.
So true, Stephanie. I can relate to every word you said about from the economic development standpoint. And it's truly about how many jobs are created, because that's what they can put into the press and that's what gains the momentum. And I can understand that as well. We want to make sure that we're getting a bang for a buck, just like we do in business. I think just to add to that conversation, I think that the government, a lot of the programs from the government have a huge impact on the growth of a manufacturing company. And so right now we've had discussions around R&D taxes and expensing and interest expensing. And those have a direct relationship on small companies, because even if you're not a manufacturer, if a listener is not a manufacturer and they're just a small business, they're impacted, because if Stephanie and I are adding people to our manufacturing plants, then they're purchasing houses, they're going out to restaurants at lunchtime, they're going to the grocery store, they're contributing to the economy. So I am directly impacted by the government legislation, and especially these tax packages, because I need my customers to be able to expense their R&D. I need to expense my R&D. And as a United States company, we want to be able to compete with companies around the world. And the only way to really compete truly is to be able to at least be on the same playing field. And right now we are not. We're way out in outfield and they're up there at first base. And I would hope that members of government can see that from our stories, from small business stories.
Yeah, they all like to talk about how they support small businesses, but when it actually comes down to some programs that benefit small businesses, most of what we get offered is job skills training programs through the local technical college. And we're already partnering with the local technical college.
Right, you need dollars, you need capital.
Yeah, we need dollars. I will throw out one program that is awesome and is actually through the Internal Revenue Service, which is the New Market Tax Credit Program. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I'll just say if there's anyone listening that's interested in new market tax credits, that is an opportunity to grow your company. And it's for certain types of expenses. We were able to finance additional equipment purchases through that program. And you have to be in a new market tax credit zone. So your facility has to be based, and it's like some of the opportunity zones. It's not the same as an opportunity zone, but it's the same concept where if you're in an economically disadvantaged area, you can qualify for some government incentives that really can help us. So if you're looking to site your facility, definitely pay attention to whether or not you're in some of these zones that can qualify you for financing. Right. And not just financing, outright money.
Right. Which is king. Yeah, cash is king, and support is critical from the government economic development agencies. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just money. You don't have to pay it back.
So you both talked about competitiveness. So competitiveness overseas as a small business in the US. You also mentioned large companies and large competitors. We know there's a war on talent. That other one is looking for people to fill their open positions. So as small business leaders, what are some strategies that you both have employed to compete effectively with large competitors and companies in the industry and as well in your geographic areas where you're trying to hire?
So I can definitely start with this one. Being in metropolitan Atlanta, I've been unfortunately, I am not in an opportunity zone or a new market tax credit zone. And I am competing with a lot of other companies and a lot of larger companies that might be able to do a better benefits package than I can. I'm grateful to have been part of the National Association of Manufacturers 401k program. And so if people aren't familiar with MEP programs, they should look into those, because as a small company, to be able to be part of a larger 401k, I can offer my employees much better benefits around retirement than I could before. And we've had a retirement plan for quite a while. So this new MEP plan, though, really reduces their fees, increases the assortment of investments. So it's a really great opportunity. I think the way that you treat and the culture within your company has a big part of that. And I think that there are some people that really prefer to work for a smaller company than a larger company. And so I might not be able to match salary. I try to come close on benefits, may match, may not match. But at the end of the day, I care about the families. Every one of my employees here is so important because they're integral to a machine from the touch of the customer to solving a problem to a machine shipping out the door to service of that equipment. There is no one that's any more important than anyone else in this building, and they need to understand that. And so I strive for our culture to be that way. And I really care about the people here. And I hope that that helps in competitiveness, because a larger company is hard to have that personal touch. So I think those are some of the things. I'm always looking for ways to improve morale, to help on the competitive front. We just hired someone today, so I'm super excited. So as Stephanie said, we're a small company, and when we add people, it's a really great thing. And so some of our positions have been very hard. And we just hired a gentleman from Venezuela that'll be starting tomorrow as a machinist, which is, really, really terrific. So he did choose us.
It's excellent.
We just hired someone today too. So high five virtually to both of us. We hired a financial director, which we really, really, really needed. We had a comptroller who's been doing an amazing job. We're transitioning that position to being head of procurement, which is also a role we really needed. And we needed someone 100% focused on procurement. I think the advantages we can offer is we are in a rural community and not everyone wants to live in a big city. And we can offer a good job with an opportunity for advancement in Rennes, Georgia, with population 2,900. So when you are in a small town, there's more of an opportunity to be the big fish in the small pond. And so I like that we can offer some good wages with opportunities for advancement, with skills that we will train in-house. We're willing to take people who don't have skills and train them. Of course, if you're an accountant, you're going to have a certain skill set, but a lot of our folks don't even have a high school diploma. Some of our people working on the plant floor, they have criminal records. So we will give people a chance, and we 100% are welcoming to that. And we've given 3 rounds of pay raises since my business partner and I bought the company 3 years ago. So we really value having competitive wages. And then we instituted a benefits program, and we keep adding on to that year after year. And then, of course, like Lisa said, culture matters. And we do once a month, we have a all hands lunch that we treat everyone to, just some time for fellowship, and we celebrate birthdays and we celebrate successes, and we also share failures so we can talk openly about things we should be doing better. And so we really just work hard to instill a sense of belonging and family. So we believe that we are a family business, even though I'm the only family member from Stuckey's. That culture of being part of a family is something that we really value.
So Stephanie, that's so funny because we do the lunch program as well on the birthdays. And we got that lunch idea probably 10 years ago, actually, from one of our employees that suggested it. So I think they're all really important, every touch point. And, as another idea, we went ahead and started giving birthdays off because, often as we get older, our birthdays just come and go, right? And so this way it's a special day, and it's not a PTO day, it's a birthday. So you're supposed to take your birthday off or a day that week.
That's great.
Oh, that's nice. All right. I may have to steal that. My employees, if they're listening, will suddenly expect that. But I think it's a great idea.
That is a great idea. So, we as an association globally for women in manufacturing, we're often looking at data and how have women risen in the industry? What are our percentages like in terms of representation in leadership? And our most recent report that we did with Xometry that came out earlier this year in 2024 shared that about 23% of manufacturing business leaders are female. Wanted to hear from both of you as you've risen and are present day leading your companies. Have you faced any obstacles or biases as a woman leader in what is still present day a male dominated industry? And if so, how have you overcome some of those obstacles or biases as you have positioned yourself as a leader in this industry?
Stephanie, you want to hit that one hard?
Yeah, right. I will do my best without knocking some of my male colleagues too hard. But it's interesting. I have two business partners, both are male, and one is more of a passive partner, even though he's very involved with what we call our strategery. But the other business partner is the CEO, and I'm the chair, and we are equals as far as ownership and running the company. And I do find quite often that he's the one people turn to. And up until about 6 months ago, I had the title of CEO, and we switched because I do more of the external branding and outward facing stuff. But even when I had the title CEO, they would go to him and they wouldn't even loop me in or CC me or include me in the meeting. And sometimes you have to really push yourself in the room and you belong there. And you have to call them on it too and say, I own half this company. You need to have me in the room. And my business partner was very good about including me. So he's been terrific and we're equals. But it's sometimes the way other people would just defer to him. And I don't know if Lisa had that with her husband, but I know I saw that with my business partner. And I just would say it's upon us as women when we're not in the room to make sure we are in the room. And then once we get in that room, to bring other women in the room. And when we're talking about promotions, make sure that it's lots of love and respect, because I have a son who's a white male and a father who's a white male, and I love white men, but can't all be white men. We got to have some diversity so that our corporation reflects our customers, our workforce, the community, and society. We cannot be a company that is modern today without making sure that we are bringing everyone at the table. And that's the way you grow. So just push yourself in the room. And I found I've had to do that more than one occasion.
I absolutely love that. I love that. Bring women in the room. So
yeah.
I'd say that early on, I had a lot more obstacles. I mean, I can remember being at a trade shows, and especially when you're dealing with metalworking trade shows, people just looked at me as booth staff. They didn't look at me as someone who owned this company. However, things changed over the years, and I think that's because I was invited in the room, whether I pushed for it or whether I asked the right questions and was recognized for it. Being part of the National Association of Manufacturers has been instrumental in that for me. I've been able to be in the conversation. I've been able to be around the table discussing trade deals, discussing policy, discussing whether it be locally, state, or federal, and being a voice for manufacturing and a voice for women. The Manufacturing Institute has been doing a phenomenal job with Women Make America, and it's all about mentoring. It's all about recognizing women in our industry that really stand out. And if anyone's listening, I would definitely recommend that you self-nominate yourself, because it's something we don't do. We don't do a very good job of self-nominating ourselves or speaking up about ourselves. Yeah. We wait and we sit back until we feel like we're ready. And a lot of times the opportunity passes us by at that point in time. So I think that I have really benefited, like Stephanie said, from women inviting me into the room, inviting me to the board table, encouraging me, mentoring me. I have two coaches that are males, and so it's always good to have a male perspective. But I think one of the things that women bring to the table is we have a higher EQ naturally. And I think that's really stands out. Being a leader in business is when your EQ is higher. That emotional intelligence is so important, because you need to be able to touch and feel and relate, because everything is not black and white.
I remember when we taped this originally, we had such a great conversation about the trade show booths and the booth babes. And that is when it's really apparent how few women are in leadership positions, because you go to these trade shows and a lot of times who's in the booth are men who are in positions of leadership. And then you've got the women who are wearing the scanty outfits. And I know every year at the candy show, there's a certain chocolate manufacturer, and I'm not going to call them out, but their booth is always populated by these women in shorty shorts and spiked heels, and they don't look like they have ever eaten a piece of candy in their lives. And it just shocks me that that is still what is being promoted. And there, of course, there are no men in short shorts out there publicizing stuff in trade show booths. Not that I would want that, but I just think it's pretty glaring sometimes. And when you see that, convenience store shows are probably the worst for that. You go to any of those energy drink booths and it's just booth babes. So I don't think that does a lot to advance having women in positions of leadership.
Right. Right. And I think
It's up to us to be the women in the trade show booth who are in control, who are cutting the deals, who are closing the sales or making the leads. So we need to start showing up in the booths in our suits, and or at least I usually wear my jeans and my Stuckey shirt, but we need to be in there presenting another side as well.
And I liked your comment, Stephanie, about not calling people out, but bringing awareness to the fact that, hey, I'm an owner too, or I'm a person that you equally need to be talking to about these things. It's changing what are those norms or those stereotypes around who's a decision maker. A decision maker can be female, an owner and leader can be female. And I think it's just changing those biases that unfortunately still exist in lots of industries, including sometimes manufacturing. So,
and most of the candy buyers at major retailers are female. I mean, I haven't seen the stats. I just know anecdotally who I see in the room when I'm making these pitches. The candy buyers, the decision makers are female. So they need to think about who is their audience, who's their customer.
Right. So on this podcast, we always like to close our episodes with advice. And you folks, I'm sure, have lots of advice that you've received over the course of your career. So I would love to have each of you share with our audience, what is the best piece of personal or professional advice you've ever received?
You know, it's funny. Every time I get asked that question, my answer changes. And I think the reason my answer changes is because my advice is just never stop growing. You are at one place, but the destination is unknown. And I feel like every day I learn so much. And I need to be open to learn, whether it's from the people around me or you're taking courses online or whatever the means of learning is, you need to continue to learn to grow as a leader. And I think that don't ever stop learning and don't ever stop growing.
Great advice.
Yeah, I have 4 words, and it's you are not alone. I think it can be very lonely sometimes if you're a female in an industry where we are outnumbered. And frankly, I thought that 23% number was pretty high. I thought it was lower than that of women in manufacturing. But you're not alone. There's women in manufacturing, and there are support groups there for you. And even if there's not a formal association, just know that there are women who've been going through what you're going through right now, and we're there for you. One of the things I really strive to do, and so far I've kept up with it, is anytime a woman asks me for advice, and it's usually on LinkedIn, quite often it's a cold call, I will say yes. I will do a Zoom meeting. If they're in Atlanta, I'll meet up for coffee. It's 30 minutes of your time, and it can really make a difference in someone's life. And so I really try to pay that forward. I heard Carol Tomei speak recently, the CEO of UPS, and she said the same thing. She said, I will always say yes to giving someone mentoring advice. I will not turn you down. And then she said, it may take a year to get on my calendar, but I will have that call with you. And I just thought, okay, if Carol Tomei, CEO of UPS, can make time to have 30-minute coffee or a call with someone, then I sure can. So I think it's just knowing you're not alone, and there's a lot of women out there who want to see you succeed. We're rooting you on, and we're here for you.
I love that, Stephanie. And I am rooting for you. I am rooting for Stuckey's and its success. And I can remember driving home from college. I could always remember the Stuckey signs. That was my map to get home. And I just want to say, Allison, that I truly believe that mentoring, you're given the opportunity, you're given the privilege of somebody reaching out to you, ask for your mentorship. I think that it's our obligation as women to say yes, no matter how busy we are, because I feel like not only are you helping them, but I feel like in return, I get a lot more, and I continue to learn by mentoring others.
No, I fully agree.
100%.
Totally agree. Well, what a great conversation. And I'm so happy that you both were able to join us for this discussion, not only about your leadership journey, but as well some of the unique challenges and advantages of being a small business and a manufacturing company in the US. And it was a pleasure to hear about how you're tackling a leadership role, and as well, I think some great advice given to our listeners. So thanks for being a part of Hear Her Story and sharing your story.
Thanks, Allison. And thanks,
Thank you
Lisa.
so much.
Thank you for listening to Hear Her Story, a podcast produced by the Women in Manufacturing Association. Be sure to share, review, and subscribe to Hear Her Story on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen.